Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Endeavour News. I hope everyone's doing well. I'm your host, Hector, and I'm here with my co host, Gilbert.
Hey everybody, how's it going?
And we're joined by very special guest, Dmitriy Levit.
How are you going, sir?
Good.
That's good to hear. I'll hand it over to Gil to further introduce our guest.
Yeah, so as Hector mentioned, we're with a very special guest, Dmitry Levit. He is a triple veteran in the Russian, Belarusian, and American militaries. He's a Belarusian community activist and a history enthusiast focused on Russian history and the Ukraine war. So we're very lucky to have him with us, and I'm sure he's got a lot to teach us. So I hope everybody's got their pen and pad out and their ears open, because I'm really interested to hear about this. So, Dimitri, um, as we introduced you, you have a very full and long career. Um, it sounds like quite a journey going through three different militaries, three vastly different militaries at that. Could you give us some more backgrounds into your life and how you went through three different militaries in three different countries? I'm interested in hearing how you, through all that, how you eventually ended up in the American military, and now you're doing your stuff as in the National Guard. But I want to hear the whole story and yeah, the whole journey of how someone progresses through what is quite
Essentially,
obviously
three very different countries, right?
three very different countries. That's right. That's right. So please, Dimitri, tell us. Please start wherever you like. What was your tell us about the journey through your life and Russia, and tell us everything we want to know.
Okay, I was born and raised in the Soviet Union. I mean the Russian Empire. I
Hmm,
don't use the name Soviet Union because it didn't exist by the time I was born.
Hmm.
right.
The real Soviet Union existed for the short time from 1920 to 28, and then was phased out by the Russian communists.
Yes.
I mean, the Soviet Union actually have private property and private enterprise and a lot of freedom.
Yeah, the Constitution actually had a lot of, things like freedom of speech, freedom of association, but they didn't last very
No,
long,
no,
did
no,
they?
no, no, no. I'm not talking about constitution. I'm talking about real freedom.
Right, right.
Uh-huh.
I mean, the Soviet constitution, it was just piece of paper that didn't mean anything.
Yes.
Uh, in 22, the Russian communists they won civil war, but they destroyed everything. Entire Russian Empire was in ruins and was starvation, hunger, and all that good stuff. So they had to step away and take a break from building the communist society. So they didn't have resources to fight the colonial elites who wanted to become independent. So they called them, said, come to us and build your nation state, and we're gonna protect you. And they call it Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. Was not really republics, but was cultural autonomies, and they really tried to build the nation states until they later arrested and executed.
Oh.
That that's after uh, Congress of Communist Party in 1928. We took course on industrialization, and we start closing that experiment. The this is Union of Soviet Socialist Republics.
Hmm.
By 1938, it was only the name of the new Russian Empire.
Yes.
Right, right, right. Hmm. S- So,
So
go ahead.
I was born and raised in the Russian Empire, and I was a perfect citizen, and I believed in superiority of Russian people, of the Russian state, Russian culture, and
Hmm.
all that.
Hmm.
And then I was drafted to the military. I mean, I could avoid it, but I believe the man got served.
Mm.
Hmm.
Yes. You thought it was the right thing to do,
So
basically, at the time.
Right,
I
right.
went in and I look around. I saw the Russia for the first time because I thought I live in Russia. And what I saw, it was entirely different. It was horrible. And I like, oh boy, not supposed to be like that. It's a real great and glorious Russia. They told me it was a shock of my life.
Hmm.
I mean, I mean, I hear some pieces, bits and pieces of the information of that, but I didn't believe it because I believe that Russia is great.
Mhm.
Cannot be.
Mr. Levit, could I or Sergeant, whatever Levit, whatever you prefer. um, I um. So what was that turning point for you? I'm really interested. Were you in some sort of what kind of where did you grow up, and was the turning point going to like Moscow or something and seeing
I was born, raised in Minsk,
Right,
Minsk?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
capital of the Russian province. Everybody spoke Russian. I mean, there's supposed to be a capital of the Belarusian Soviet Socialist Republic, but Belarusian you could hear only on the radio or TV. The one TV local TV channel was in Belarusian. Nobody watched it. I mean, somebody was, but nobody I knew.
Hmm.
And I was studying Belarusian as a foreign language school, but it was basically useless because if you learn Belarusian, uh, all you can do is be a professional Belarusian, go to work in TV or the radio, or if you also you can teach others
Hmm.
Belarusian. That's it.
Was it not
Nothing else you
even
can do.
was it not even spoken in perhaps like the countryside, or not? At that point, it was completely going
Yeah,
extinct.
well, it's some people had I mean Belarusian accent,
Right,
Hmm.
and it's if you have Belarusian accent, you are a country bumpkin, basically.
right, right.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah,
get what you
yeah,
mean.
yeah. Sure. Yeah.
People think you're like a hick or
So
something.
Hmm.
if you take that thing seriously and start talking Belarusian in your life, was frowned upon. You know,
Wow.
you could get in trouble. I
Hmm.
mean, it wasn't actually legal. I mean, the Belarus had a quota in the government, in the leadership for ethnic Belarusian, but that's it.
Hmm. Wow.
Socially, it was frowned upon, and there's probably other
Yes.
ramifications. They probably would have had like less access to employment if that was the only language you could speak or the main language you spoke. So,
Mm, I mean, what was say, what are you, a nationalist?
right,
It
right,
was
yeah,
the thing, bourgeois nationalist. It's
Uh,
an enemy of the state.
hmm.
It's the
Hmm.
worst thing you could meet. I mean,
right.
I'm Jewish, and I
Mhm.
was told those evil nationalists were going trying to kill you and destroy our great multinational state.
Mhm.
Interesting how they sort of have that language, because you see that rhetoric going around now with they talk about how the Ukrainians actually just want to genocide everyone that's not Ukrainian because they want to speak their own language and have their own nation.
Yeah, the
So
horrible. I know. Well,
Yeah.
I used to believe all that crap.
Mhm.
Anyway, so and I mean
Mhm.
every capital of the Soviet Union had the school, military school for kids. I
Mhm.
mean, grown kids. It's like if you want to become an officer in the military, you should start with that school, and it's called the Suvorov School.
right.
Shorov. Okay.
Suvorov was actually the
Oh,
Tsarist general, and what he did, he pacified the uh, uh, new territories, new
right.
acquired territories acquired by Russia. So he was hanging the insurgents by the on the trees by the roads. So nice
Hmm.
guy, very.
Mhm. Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah.
It,
So, so
it's
what? What?
it's like
Mhm.
it's like in Israel the name the school Hitler school. You know, it's about the same.
Okay, yeah, yeah. So it's sort of odd. That seems very bizarre.
Mhm.
So I assume that, yeah, there was a lot of people. I mean, just by calling it that, right, you're going to dissuade people that are perhaps a bit sympathetic to their own nation's history rather than
Mhm.
the official history of the Russian Empire and the history approved by the state just by having these sort of names, right?
Right.
The I
Mhm.
mean, you learn the local language in school, but if you wanted to have a career, you should have known Russian.
Yes.
Mhm. Mm. Right. Yeah.
And the Soviet Union have the interior passports. I mean, the two kinds of passports: foreign passports, like all other countries, and interior passports.
Okay. Okay.
When you turn 16, you apply for interior passport.
Mm.
I
And
mean, the people in Soviet Union, the countryside people in the Stalin time, they didn't have interior passports, so they couldn't leave
Yeah.
the state farms. So
It's
mm.
actually China still does that to this day. They still have internal passports in China, and people cannot
yeah,
freely
well,
move
it's a
around.
Mm. I,
socialist state.
Yes.
I mean, you have the 5 points in the bullet points in the passport. It's the first name, last name, the middle name,
mm.
and the address where you live. You cannot live any place else except the place which in your passport.
Mhm.
And the fifth bullet point was your ethnicity. The Russians say nationality. It was ethnicity, not
Right.
nationality.
Mm. 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 Right.
So, and I mean, you can change your ethnicity if you bribe somebody,
Mm.
but nowhere else. And
Interesting.
if you have a Russian, I mean, there was a joke that the Jew with the quality stamp.
Right.
Oh, really? Wow.
It's a Jew who has the fifth bullet point as a Russian.
Okay.
What? Why is that? Do you think?
Huh?
Oh. Oh. What? Oh. Why do you think that is?
Well, cause if you have in Russian language, the Jew is an insult. So
Oh,
as
Oh.
okay.
a Hebrew,
Okay. Yeah.
it's my passport said Hebrew. I
Uh-huh.
mean the fifth bullet point, which is in Russian.
Mm.
I had no clue what Hebrew means actually.
Oh. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Interesting.
I mean, my grandpa, he was what's it called the vice Jew with the governor.
Oh, okay.
Was
Oh.
also a job. I
So a bit of
mean
a
the
stereotype then, or something.
after the war, I mean after the civil war, they basically killed off all the educated people
Hmm.
because the bourgeoisie. So they killed
Yeah.
all of the bourgeoisie,
Yes.
and the, the people say that the Jews, the, I mean, they become the communists. The thing is, there was a fail of a Jewish settlement in Russia. Before the First World War, the Jews weren't allowed to live in Russia proper.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Only in the colonies.
Uh-huh.
It was called Pale of Jewish Settlement.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Right.
And also in in the Pale, the Jews were covered by all kinds of taxes Gentiles didn't pay. And also for the male Jewish children, it was mandatory to go to government school.
Right.
Okay. Right. Right.
So there was a huge number of the very poor
Mm.
Jewish men who actually had some kind of education.
Right. Okay. Yep.
So after the revolution, they actually got the prospects of getting a career. So of course nobody else alive had an education. So uh, they joined the regime and they joined the Communist Party.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So my grandpa, he basically ran the Department of Social Security, the Soviet Socialist Republic of Belarus.
Wow.
Right. Wow.
So he was not a non-member of the Communist Party.
Oh, okay.
Of course, he was my grandma was a Zionist, and she dragged him in the Zionist Party.
Oh,
He
okay.
was a member for the year, and the communists wouldn't allow you to join the Communist Party if you were a member of a Zionist party before.
It's interesting they
Interesting.
still let him have such a high position in the government, though.
Yeah. Oh, that is
So
interesting.
he, if he was a communist, he would probably got promoted and killed
Right.
Mm.
Okay.
because
Yes.
the 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 leaders of the all departments periodically gotten under clean up
Right.
during the Stalin time. So
Yes.
most of them were getting killed. So because he he was at the top of his career, not a danger to anybody else career, and somebody got to do the work, you know,
Yeah, that's true.
you know.
Can't
So
purge everyone.
he was needed, so he survived all the purges.
Wow. Wow. Amazing. Yeah, he must have been very good at his job. Just
Yeah.
to know.
Well, he finished the sixth grade of the Russian
Mhm.
private school. I mean, was I believe he was the favorite son of his father
Yes.
Mm.
because the only way for Jewish kid to avoid the government school is to send him to the private school. But if you send in your son to the private school, you should have you paid for two.
Ah, okay.
Right. Okay.
You
Okay.
have to subsidize
S-
the Christian
Someone else. Yeah.
kid.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
Hmm. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. So what and you or your families went through this Suvorov school? Is that correct?
No.
No. Okay.
I
No.
had friends who went there. I mean, I don't know if I would be even accepted there
Oh, okay.
because I have their own ethnicity.
Right. Right. The
And
Hebrew. Yeah.
again, the easiest way to get to that school if you have the father in the military.
Okay.
Hmm.
Again, if you it's easier, but if you didn't, you have to have high scores to get to the school, and also the being Russian wouldn't help. I mean, wouldn't hurt.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
I had a friend. I used to work with him who was in the Russian military. He was a colonel, and he went through the before the Soviet Union collapsed. He went through the highest. He 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 got in the highest
Mhm.
military school of Soviet Union. It was like Warsaw Pact Academy, and he told me that his friend didn't get in there because he had a Ukrainian sounding last name.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
So
Yeah. It was an indoctrination school. Did your friends
it's
did your
for it was a school for general officers.
I see. I see.
Oh,
Okay.
right. So quite
To
high level
prepare
then.
them. Oh, sorry, Hector?
Also quite high level then. That's what I said.
Quite high level, right? But it was to prepare them for like. Do I have this right? It was to prepare them for military.
You mean Suvorov?
Yeah, yeah.
Suvorov, it was for the kids, just for any
Just for the
kids to
kids.
prepare them to for
Okay.
them a future military career.
Yeah,
Sure.
it's
Gotcha.
ages
Got it.
10 to 7 according to the Wikipedia
Amazing.
page.
Yeah.
I had
Right.
the friend who was in Air Force, and he finished Suvorov school before the
Okay. Yeah.
going to the military.
Hmm.
I used to I was with him in high school. Anyway, so when I got to the military, it was a shock of my life,
Right. Okay. Yeah.
and
Tell
it
us
was.
about that.
Yeah,
Tell
tell
us
us what
about
shocked
that.
you. Tell us what
Yeah.
changed your
Tell.
worldview.
Yeah.
I was in the Northern Fleet.
Yeah, Northern Fleet.
I was in the Northern Fleet. Yes, I was in originally in city of Palarny, and then Severomorsk. I mean, the next to Murmansk. You probably never heard about those cities, but Murmansk, you should know, the
Mhm.
capital of Land Lease.
Yes. Yeah, yes, that's correct.
Sure.
It was inside the polar circle. Anyway, so the roads was horrible.
Yeah, I
I
bet.
mean, I never saw that. I, I mean, it's like if that never there, it would be probably better
Oh.
Yeah.
because that I remember the one sharp turn in the road, and there was the heat pipe going in the ditch, and every time you're driving by, you see the another car in the
Oh
ditch.
no. The weather was that bad, eh?
Oh my
Uh,
goodness.
I mean, the abuse was horrible,
Oh yeah, notoriously bad.
and the Russian military, the Soviet military, have two different kinds of the units. Was armed units and unarmed.
Right. Oh, okay, yes.
So, so the armed, I mean, the infantry, special forces, so on. You have to shoot the firearm. You training with firearm all the time, and if you push somebody armed too far, he turn around and gonna shoot you.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Which happened a lot, by the way.
Wow. That just shows how
Whoa.
dysfunctional the army is. That like never happens in, well, rarely, if ever, happens in any Western militaries.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
crazy.
in the Western military, they had the problem, but not like not that much
Yeah.
Mhm.
like in Russian. I mean, and there's a lot of non-armed soldiers, like builders,
Yes.
Mhm.
artillery, heavy artillery, for example, or engineers. I
Right.
mean, construction engineers.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, not
Mm,
combat.
We went to shoot the guns, the firearms. In this case, it's like a jail, you know.
right.
You
Yes.
know, the gangs, the different Soviet ethnicities.
Oh.
If you belong to right ethnic group, you are the king. And if you are not, you might even get punked.
Hmm.
So it wasn't fun at all.
Get
Right.
get get punked? So sorry.
Yep. Yes.
Right.
Like in
Well.
jail.
Oh,
Oh,
right.
okay. Yes, yes.
Oh, I think I get what you mean. Okay. Yeah. Terrible. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you tell me.
Mm, mm.
It was. By the way, I recently worked in jail because of the strike in New York.
Oh,
I
okay.
had to replace the correction officer.
Oh, okay. I was not aware of the a strike in New York. These things happen, right? When was
In the
that?
New York State, it was in the February, March.
Of this year.
Yep,
Oh, okay. Interesting.
it was a correction strike in the state of New York.
And then as your role as a National Guardsman, you had to.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
of course. Uh, I mean, the National Guard, of course, allegiances to the governor of a state were used in case of the emergency.
Wow. Yeah, yeah, okay. Yeah, that's pretty.
So I had to work as a correction officer
Okay.
for the month.
Okay. Okay. So what? So you had grown up in Minsk your whole life, thinking that Oh, do you want to go to this
Oh,
subject
I'm just
quickly?
bringing it up so people
Oh,
know what
sure.
he's
So,
talking
so
about.
you'd grown up in Minsk, thinking, Russia's great, Russia's awesome, um, we're the best,
Yeah, the highest of culture,
the highest of
the
Yes,
culture,
most educated
yeah,
in the world, that sort of stuff.
that sort of stuff. And then, so lots of patriotism, lots of good feelings. And then when you get to, um,
to real Russia.
Yeah, the real Russia.
which was the Suvorov school was the start of that, no?
No, he did.
Not
Oh,
sure of
oh,
school. I just give it as an example
Right,
that
right,
okay.
there's no real Soviet Union
right.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
okay. And
because General Suvorov was the man who, who massacred the resistance in the colonies, in the Russian colonies.
oh my
yeah. And it's sort of
goodness.
interesting because
It
he's a
had
figure of.
nothing to do with the Marxism or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah. That's the thing, right? Because this is before the Soviet era. So, and they're venerating a
Yes,
man who basically just put down rebellions in the colonies. A
Mm,
yes,
hundred years later, after the regime has supposedly changed.
yeah, or so that would have you think that it's changed.
yes.
mm. So that you notice the abysmal quality of the military. So that was that. I guess that you could say that was your first shock, and then
Yeah, well,
yeah.
I
Go
mean,
ahead. Go ahead.
I survived through all that crap, and I come home, and I was walking around with the big eyes and telling people that's not right.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And
Mm,
some people were saying, "You're lying. It's not true."
wow.
I mean, my father, who served as a tanker after the war,
Mm,
he didn't believe me.
Really? I thought he would probably
really?
know about it if he was
Yeah, yeah.
serving during the war.
That's amazing.
I
Maybe.
mean, he served somewhere in 52, I think, 52 to 55 or so.
Okay.
Okay. Maybe he was in his tank most of the time.
Yeah, I guess so.
No, that
Yeah.
it has changed for that time.
Oh, really?
Then
Oh,
for many people, especially from the countryside, it was like salvation to get in the military. At
yes.
least you get
Wow.
fed, you know.
Wow. Yeah.
Okay.
So, so
So
go ahead.
that
Go ahead, Dimitri. Tell us, what was your next sort of series of realizations that you went through that made
Well,
you? Uh-huh.
I mean, first I thought maybe that's just in one place. I was, so they're different. I mean, I have a family in Moscow,
Yes.
and I've been there. I visited, but Moscow is not Russia. Russia basically there's have two parts. It's Moscow. There's a level of life is close to Western, and the rest of Russia there's a level of life close to Africa.
That's unfortunate.
Oh, no, that's not good.
The Russia is the real empire.
Yes.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's like
It's
a
it's
extractionary
it's
empire that
yeah.
Mm.
It's extract all the resources from the rest of the country, and then if it's like to, it's gonna share some with its colonies.
yes.
Sure.
So it's all the colonies of Moscow, basically. But I mean, these people basically become Russians. I mean, Russian is not really ethnicity. It's like an Imperial Construct.
Right.
Right. Okay. Yeah, because there are many different people in Russia, right? There's
Yes,
heaps of.
but they all become Russians.
As in like Russian
Does
language speakers. Is that what you mean?
yes, and they think like Russian.
Ah, yes. Okay.
Ah.
I used to be Russian. I mean, I believe that Russia is the greatest of the great, and that it's superior to the Russian culture is superior to all ours
Yes.
and all that
Well,
good
when you think
things.
like that, you're doing everyone a favor because you're enlightening them by, introducing them to the Russian culture after, you invade
Yes,
them and then colonize them. You're doing them a favor, right?
yes, that's what I thought. I mean, they told the empire was bad, but Russian empire is good because it spread superior Russian culture around.
Yeah. Funny that.
Yeah, well, I believe that till I saw that what's the real Russia is.
Yes.
I mean, after I come home, I start. First, I joined the reform started. Gorbachev, all that. But by the way, when I was in the military, I tried to deploy Vietnam. We had the deployment. I mean, after the war,
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
but I was
Wow.
told that is my ethnicity. Not even try.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I
Well,
mean,
Okay.
the man who had the Hebrew stamp in his passport couldn't be sent outside the Soviet Union.
Hmm.
right, right.
Okay.
I mean, if I went that Hebrew, I would know, you know,
Okay.
because it was unofficial, but
Mhm. Okay.
the Jewish guy could if he was with the quality stamps that if he has a Russian in his passport, then he could be sent outside.
Hmm.
Yeah, interesting.
Interesting. Very interesting. So so you were telling you were to backtrack a little bit. You were telling people that, oh my goodness, this military
The Russian
s-
project, like,
yeah, it's I wasn't expecting this, and you were telling people about it, and they were saying that you were lying, and so let's
I
start
mean,
off
the
with the.
people who I mean, people who really who served in the military, which most of them they just looked away from me
hmm, just kept quiet,
and,
right?
trying to avoid that conversation.
Wow, amazing. Right.
And
Well,
everyone talks about corruption in the military. Did you see much of that? I mean, you were just, a
of
private,
course,
right?
I mean, if you don't leave your stuff unattended, if you turn it back to it, it's gonna disappear
Right.
like snap,
Oh
and
wow.
it's not there. Uh, anyway, every In Russian Empire, everybody is stealing.
Yes.
Wow.
It just depends on your position, what you can steal.
Okay.
Sure. Sure.
Cool. Can you
And
give us a rough time frame? So when you left the Russian Navy, right? Right about what time was this? Was this in the 80s,
it,
the early
it
90s?
was I served 83 to 85,
Okay.
2 years.
Okay. So we're starting to get towards, the independence movements within the Russian
Yes.
Empire starting to take off in Lithuania, Latvia, Armenia, that sort of stuff. So, sort of, can we transition there and how you got involved from being in the Russian military, seeing the real Russia?
I mean, I came home and there was a Chernobyl accident,
Oh, yes. Yep.
and I was taken to the. I mean, in Russia, if you served 2 or 3 years in the military, and then you are in reserve till you retire,
Yeah. Yeah.
till 60. Uh, so I was taken to the reserves during the Chernobyl accident, and we thought we're gonna die,
Right.
but
Yeah.
thankfully they didn't send us there. They sent us just to the transportation unit. We're building the garages for the trucks, thankfully. But when we're protesting, we thought we're gonna be sent to Chernobyl. So we
Wow.
weren't happy
Yeah.
about
Yeah. Well,
that.
you're in Minsk. That's right near, pretty close to
Yeah.
Chernobyl, right? So,
Yeah, well, radiation was very high.
yes. Yeah. So I got brought up a map here. So like half of Belarus got covered in radiation
I
because of
mean,
that.
the quarter of Belarus was made uninhabitable
Wow.
because they
Wow.
settled the rain because was going to the direction of the Moscow, so they sent the planes in there to disperse the silver nitrate.
Oh, like cloud
To,
seeding.
yep,
Ah,
they
okay.
did it and above Belarus and made like quarter of the country uninhabitable.
Right. So
Mm.
okay, so instead of getting the radiation blown towards Moscow, they just blew it towards, Poland, blew it towards Belarus.
Cities
Yeah.
Mm.
and towns.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's great. Yeah.
The
Well,
the
that's not
the,
that surprising, really.
the cancer
Yes.
levels skyrocketed.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I guess other than the people
That's
that lived in Chernobyl itself, Belarus was actually one of the most affected countries, as you can sort of see by this
Yes, because
radiation map here.
the, the wind was in our direction.
Yes.
Belarus suffered even more than Ukraine.
mm.
The Chernobyl station is on the border of
Yes. Right on the
between
border.
Ukraine and Belarus.
Yes, yes, that's correct. Okay, so you're, yeah, that's cool. That's quite interesting. You were there with
One
that
of
as
my
well.
teachers, I mean, the guy I was in school with, he brought me to the movement. I mean, I was part of the movement Belarusian Popular Front,
Okay.
and anyway, so we supposedly won.
Yes. Suppo- yes. Should we get into the lead up of that? So you went from, getting deployed potentially to Chernobyl. You didn't know at the time. Luckily, you didn't get sent to Ground Zero. And then during that, you're getting involved with the Belarusian independence
Yeah,
movement, joined the Popular Front. And how was that transition period? Between Chernobyl towards
yeah.
these
Well,
independence
at the
movements.
first, I was like lost
Right.
because I was telling people that Russia and the Russian military is horrible, and the people saying like, "What are you talking about?
Mm. Mm.
You're lying."
Mm. Mm.
And I was just, what's wrong with those people?
Yeah, I'll bet.
I mean, I was like hugely patriotic and all that, and
Yes.
I was like,
Mm.
I was starting to doubt that the things they told me, because in, in real life it turned out that it's absolutely not
Mm,
true.
mm,
So I started learning some history, and I joined the movement.
mm,
Anyway, I was one of the first.
mhm, mhm,
After the it's in '92, after Soviet Union collapsed,
mhm,
the Belarus became independent, which was a miracle,
mm,
because the parliament was most of the majority of people in Belarusian parliament, they weren't elected.
mm,
They were appointed by the Communist Party. They weren't supposed to vote for anything. I
mm,
mean,
mhm,
they were basically sheep.
mhm, mhm,
So the leader of Belarusian Popular Front, who was elected to the parliament, the opposition had like 15 people or so, 15 delegates out of 300
mm, mm,
in the
mm.
parliament. But after the coup in Moscow, they were all scared,
Right,
because they thought since they lost, somebody gonna come for them, and as in the best traditions of Russia, they're gonna be executed.
right, 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 right.
So the leader of the Belarusian Popular Front, he came to the microphone and said, "Well, you gotta become independent. You gotta protect yourself."
Mhm, mhm,
And he shut down the communist
Mhm.
leader who tried to talk over him. And he
good.
basically, those people were sheep, and they just got the new shepherds, and said bear, and they, they, they vote for independence.
Yes.
Mm, mm, okay.
I mean, these people weren't supposed to get any initiative. That's why they were appointed in the parliament.
Mm,
The Communist Party is supposed to rule. They
mhm,
were just the puppets.
Yes, of course.
But the puppet master got thrown away. So they were forced basically to vote for independence.
mm, for sure. Okay, right. And
Cool.
and and were you were part of that movement or
Yes,
right, right, right.
And what was your role personally?
uh, I created the job for myself, because I got married,
Yes.
and
Oh,
I wanted to take part of all the rallies and all that.
mm,
And since you're married, you're supposed to take care of families. Well, the hell are you walking around? So I created the job for myself to sell the books, the pins, all that
Oh, okay.
stuff.
Yeah.
I
nice.
mean, I was arrested like countless times for selling the stuff without a permit,
Okay.
Wow.
Yes.
but usually they let me go.
Mhm.
And I mean, even the police they sympathized with us.
Right, right.
You know what I mean? So
Mm,
I,
mm,
I was actually on the outside the parliament when when we vote for independence
Okay.
on
okay.
the rally.
Mm,
Okay. So you're more of like an activist trying to raise funds for the movement.
Yeah,
That's
mm,
the opposition was trying to put me in the foyer of the in the lobby of the parliament to
right.
sell my pins,
Oh, okay. Yes.
because the delegates they wanted to buy they got new symbols of the state, and they wanted to get some, and they were afraid to go outside,
mm, mm,
to the rally.
mm. Right.
And
but
from oh, sorry.
administration refused to, to let me in.
Hmm.
So I was selling my pins through the opposition delegates.
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm. Right. Right.
Cool. And from there, I guess like you had the crisis in Belarus, the Declaration of Independence. I guess from there, how did the rise of Lukashenko happen? This man that basically subverted the independence, thought and
Yeah.
Well,
movement into turning Russia,
I
turning.
mean, it happened after I left. I mean, I left because I lost my job. There's become a lot less rallies.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
So, and I tried to legalize, but I believe to do so, I had to bribe somebody, and I didn't know who. And anyway, I didn't make that much money to do that.
Hmm.
You
Fair.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I had aunts in United States, so I left. And before I left, I took an oath. We were trying to show that we are serious. It's an independence thing, and we're gonna defend it
Hmm.
from all the enemies, foreign and domestic. So I took an oath in the center of Minsk with people from Belarus and Popular Front.
Yes.
So
Hmm.
join the reserve, Belarusian reserve,
Yes.
basically.
Okay.
Hmm. Nice.
The
Nice.
Lukashenko, because I had enough connections to follow that. He was basically the Russian creature.
Yes. Okay.
He visited Moscow and he got an interview, I guess, in FSB there.
Right.
And after that, they start pushing him.
Hmm.
They financed his campaign.
Mhm.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, he has long, if you just look here, long-standing ties to the Communist Party. So,
I
so
mean, the guy, he's from the countryside.
right.
Basically, he was like me actually in the youth. I was a little bit. I mean, I finished basically the same school as Lukashenko or Putin for that matter.
Hmm. Hmm.
So you know what I mean.
Sure. Sure.
So that he just didn't change any. So he's Imperial Russian basically.
Okay.
Wow. So they got to him, and yeah, right.
They
He's
made him
basically.
a president,
Mm.
and
Mm.
and then the parliament indicted him, and they tried to remove him.
Hmm.
But the Russians, entire Russian government, come to except of Yeltsin,
Hmm.
come to Minsk to lobby for the Lukashenko,
Hmm.
and a lot of people in Belarusian government, the people of the provincial people, so they used to vote to imperial, to
Sure.
central people. So, and as a result of the lobbying campaign, the Lukashenko state,
Mm.
he dispersed the parliaments after that.
Mm. Mm.
I mean, when he was elected the president, it was the last free election in Belarus.
Mm.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm. Mm. Yeah. Well,
Didn't
he's
have
been there like 20, getting on to like 30 years or something. What is
yeah,
this?
30 years at this
Yeah,
point. Yes.
if not for support and finance from Russia, he wouldn't survive.
Mm. Mm. Right.
Oh,
Right.
absolutely. He's not actually very popular in Belarus. So
Right.
Yeah, he was popular for. I mean, he
originally,
ran
yes.
as an anti-corruption candidate, and I mean, he wasn't that popular, but he was popular enough to get elected,
Hmm.
Yes.
and he had the money to burn from Russia, so
So,
that's how he got elected.
right. So that it wasn't really anything to do with how what was it? Just Russian money, or was it? I mean, do you think when he was first elected, do you think that was like a free and fair election, or was he sort of how do I say this, Hector? Was he sort of like pushed into his role?
I mean, it was free and fair in the sense that I mean, people
Yeah.
were forced to vote for or
Right.
against,
Sure. Okay. Okay.
but his his campaign was financed from Moscow.
Right. 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 Interesting. Yeah, because
Sort of
that's
like there's a lot of countries like that now. So
a lot
sort
of
of like
countries. Yeah.
Singapore or Turkey, where technically the elections are fair, but the media and the campaigns behind the election aren't. So
Yeah. Right. Right. Okay. So I have a
Uh,
better understanding of it.
before I left, by the way, I actually ran the campaign in Minsk
yeah,
because the deputies, congressmen, he become he joined the government, so it was new elections, and they could make by the law 50 plus percent of the people supposed to vote for election to go through, and it didn't happen because people didn't want to vote.
Hmm. Right. Right. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. Because yeah, I was wondering how they would so clearly he was an FSB asset, but there was some way that they appealed to the Belarusian people
Yeah,
by
well,
using
like I said, he ran anti-corruption campaign.
interesting, huh? But he was like,
He promised to put all corruptioners in prison.
hmm, yeah. So that kind of thing really creeps me out because it's like we're not really any different in the West, at least now. Like there's all kinds of strange things happening. Maybe you could say less so, but yeah, it's who
Yeah,
do you
well,
trust? Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Dmitry.
you got to learn.
Yeah, yeah,
I
uh,
mean, you don't just follow the mass media.
yes, mm,
yeah.
You
mm,
you got to learn your lesson.
mm,
Got to do your homework.
absolutely, absolutely.
Otherwise, we are screwed.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah. So I
Should we
mean,
talk about soon after Lukashenko was in? That's not Lukashenko.
Lukashenko.
Lukashenko, yeah, I'm getting him
Yeah.
and Poroshenko put together. But anyways, so after that, there was the Belarusian referendum where they basically like re-Russified Belarus. Very shortly after, it
That
was
that referendum was actually illegal
yes,
because you cannot put that questions on the referendum. That was I mean the questions on the referendum was
here they are.
what do you want? Do you support or not the new flag, new symbols,
Yes,
hmm,
new Belarusian symbols? That for the most people, the new Belarusian symbols were like our symbols.
hmm,
right. It's like
right.
You
nostalgic,
know
right?
what I mean?
Yeah, it's like what
Hmm,
they grew up with, so they just voted for it.
No, 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 no. The non-communist symbols.
Oh yeah, yeah, okay.
right.
That was
Okay.
new,
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah.
and also the question if you want two government languages, the Belarusian and Russian.
Yes,
But result was we got one.
Yeah,
You can
Russian.
guess which one. Yep,
Yeah, it's not that hard to figure out Russian, right?
Mhm.
yep. By the way, when Belarusians, Soviet Socialist Republic of Belarus, when it existed, it had two main government languages was Belarusian and Yiddish,
Okay.
and the two secondary, which were the Russian and Polish.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Cool. So you left. So you were out of Belarus before Lukashenko was elected,
Yep,
right? So
yep.
from there, so then you're in America. Did you follow much of the post, the post-independence movements in the former Soviet Union closely? Like, what were you up to then? What was the
Of
next
course,
stage of your
of
life?
course. I still, I mean, I didn't want to go. But when I left, it was there's a big hope that we can reform and
Can come
progress
back.
and all that.
Mm, mm, mm,
I mean, and then it went downhill from there. So,
mm,
and I was depressed basically in United States. I mean, people ready to kill get to go to America
mm, mm, mm.
and
Right.
I really didn't want to. I wanted to go back
Mm.
anyway. That was after 9/11.
Yes.
I actually start feeling like an American, like America really needs me.
Right.
Mhm, mm.
Uh, there was a huge patriotic movement after the terror of 9/11.
Yeah, as you would expect. I mean, America was attacked in such a horrible way.
Mm.
Yeah, and I mean, I haven't planned to join any military because I really didn't like it in the first place.
Yes.
Right. Right. Right.
So but after 9/11, I
And you're in
wanted
New
to get
York
even.
too. Like, you're in New
Yeah,
York in America.
Yeah.
So,
and my city got attacked.
yes.
So I was really angry, and I wanted to get even.
Mm, mm,
And
mm,
I walked in the center was a Marine recruitment point in 42nd Street in Manhattan. And I said I want to join the army, and they said, "How old are you?" I said, "35." "Oh, you're too old."
Wow.
It's not even that old, really.
Yeah,
And
that's very young.
and they said, "Well, you try National Guard." What's a National Guard? Never heard about that. Anyway, so it took me like 2 months to find that National Guard
Was it
because
elusive,
they
was
did
it?
not, they didn't really advertise,
Yes.
Right.
you
Right.
know.
Mm,
So I found the armory, National Guard armory, and the recruiter said, "Well, you are too old, but keep in touch."
mm.
And 2006, nobody wants to go to Iraq,
Sure.
so they raised the cutoff age to 42,
Right. Okay.
and I got the 3 months window to enlist. My recruiter called
Yeah.
me
Yeah.
and told me, "Well, now you can join the army." I said, "Oh, okay."
Sort of crazy that wasn't the original. Like, 35 isn't even that old. It's still very
Yeah.
young. Like, you're still
Mm,
So
physically
I
fit
turned
at that age.
42 in the basic training.
Yes.
mm.
I mean, it was very hard physically for me because I was completely out of shape,
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
but
But you made it through?
I, I made it through. Yes.
Okay. That's
Wonderful.
good.
Awesome. Good. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, morally, I mean, it was the third military for me, so I knew what to expect. So,
How did basic training in the National Guard compare to the Soviet military training?
Right.
uh, it's absolutely different things.
Okay.
What was some of the
In,
main things that stood out?
Yeah.
I mean, the American military, it's volunteer military.
Yes.
and there's no abuse. I mean, ethnic at least.
Yes.
I remember our first sergeant, he collected us in the hall and said, well, the guy was Spanish, I remember, and he told us, well, some of you believe that your race or ethnicity is better than others.
Hmm.
By all means, you can believe anything, but if you practice in my company, you're going to regret you ever been born.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I wonder what. Yeah.
So there
Okay.
was nothing.
Interesting.
Obviously, there was nothing like that in the Russian military. It was very segregated, I guess you could say.
In Russian military, just the usual things, the abuse.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. Okay.
Interesting.
Cool. And at this point, were you involved like politically? Were you like you were involved very politically in the Belarus during the independence movement and the Belarus People's Front? Is that right? People's Bloc?
The Belarusian Popular Front,
Popular Front. Yes. Okay. Were you involved politically in the United States at this time?
not really.
Okay. Yeah,
I
okay.
mean, some, I mean, eventually I
Okay.
start watching the cable news
Yes.
and I got a little political. I mean, the, I was voting Republican because the Republicans usually
Tended to be more.
didn't play games with Russians like Democrats did
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
at that time.
It's a
Well, at
bit
the
different
time,
now.
all the Democrats were saying Bush was scaremongering when they should start taking Russia seriously again. And it would have been around this time
Yeah,
when you joined the National Guard, soon after you had the Russian invasion of Georgia, right? So what was going through your mind at the time when that happened?
before that,
Before that, okay,
the
so it was before.
invasion of Georgia happened 2008.
Okay, right. So about yeah, okay. So what was your thoughts when that started happening? When Russia started,
Yeah, well,
blatantly invading its neighbors?
I was hoping I'm gonna go and get piece of Russia for myself, but it didn't happen, unfortunately.
Oh, that's too bad. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so
But
I mean,
could I?
I
Yeah.
start seriously studying history because I got a lot more books here in United States than I could get in my home country.
Mm,
yes.
amazing. Could I
And
ask? Uh-huh. Go ahead,
so
Dmitry. Yeah.
ask,
Ask. Yeah. Did you from? So obviously they were somewhat aware, I would guess, of your history in Belarus and Russia. So did you encounter any sorts of challenges or obstacles entering America and specifically entering the National Guard on accounts of your
not
past
really.
history? Not really. Oh,
No,
interesting. Okay.
Did you have to prove you weren't like a communist or something? Because I would
Or
have
like
thought
a
that.
spy
no.
Yeah.
or
I
intelligence.
mean, I
Yeah.
have a secret clearance. I mean, by that time I had only one citizenship,
Okay.
American. So
Right. Okay. So you're a full citizen at that point. That makes sense.
Okay.
I mean,
Interesting.
a lot of people join just to get the citizenship,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I was already citizen when I joined.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. So, did you want to continue on this line, Hector, or
Yeah.
I can
Okay.
Yes,
transition?
So when the Russo-Georgian War happened, did you start thinking, oh no, potentially these countries, Belarus could be a target of future aggression? Did that start to cross your mind?
listen, by that time I would understand Russia completely, so it was expected,
Ah,
more or
okay.
less.
Yes. Okay. So you knew this was inevitable at this point. It wasn't any sort of
I, I,
shock.
I mean, when you learn history, you understand what Russia is and what it was. Uh, the Russia is the state uh, chameleon, changing colors.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, from the
It's
empire to the Soviets to the new.
no, I mean it's still an empire. It's never
Yes.
changed that. It just changed outside. if you know what I mean.
Yeah, like perestroika,
Mm.
the revolution,
The,
that sort of stuff.
it goes from the Peter, the Tsar of Moscovia.
Hmm?
He, he was the first Tsar who traveled outside.
Mm.
So he traveled to Europe and he noticed that Europe people live a lot better than people in his country.
Yeah.
So they said he tried to westernize Moscovia, but it's not true really because he had no idea what Western is.
Mm.
He
Interesting.
just he built the cargo cult of West in
Oh, right.
Moscovia.
Okay.
Sure, sure. So potentially, some of them were actually, even in the upper echelons, were a victim of their own propaganda, perhaps. Um,
The Peter uh, during his rule,
mm,
the Russian Church got reformed because the original Russian Church was a dhimmi.
a dhimmi, right?
Yes, because they were part of the Mongolian or
Yeah,
Tatar
yeah.
Empire
Mm,
and part of the Muslim Empire and the dhimmi Church.
Yes.
huh.
So uh, the Peter was his metropolitan uh, new metropolitan, he reformed the Russian Church to the Orthodox,
Mm,
Yes.
and by the Orthodox rules, the emperor is supposed to be the head of the church.
mm, mhm.
The Russian Orthodox Church, the Tsar of Russia was the head, the official head of Russian Orthodox Church.
Mm,
Yes.
mm. Interesting, interesting. So,
I mean,
mhm,
the Peter uh, his reforms didn't help the Russian people any. I mean,
mm,
Moscovian people,
mhm,
Yes.
but it helped them to conquer the Western countries after that, because a lot of people were collaborated with the invaders, because they said, well, we're Christians like us, so we're gonna honor our rights, wouldn't they?
Right,
mhm,
yeah.
Well,
mhm.
no.
Yeah, true. True. It wasn't
Right.
really the case, was it? Nor is it now.
I
And
mean, the and he renamed the country from Moscovia to Russian Empire. It's basically to show the direction of the future conquest.
yes.
Hmm. Right. So on that, I mean, yeah, you've mentioned you're an amateur historian with a focus on Russian history.
Yes.
What kind of periods or events most fascinate you, and periods or events do you view as being most important for us to concentrate on now, and why?
Well, I read a lot of about Russia,
Yeah.
which again shocked me. I started looking at it with different eyes.
Mm, mhm.
And
So
what's I'm sorry.
S- Go ahead. Go ahead.
the the Russian Empire, they conquered a lot of Western states,
Mm,
Yes.
which is Ukraine was part of. There was a republic, a federative republic, including Poland, Ukraine, Belarus, and Lithuania.
mm, mm.
It was called the Reich Pospolita, which is the literal translation from Latin Republic.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Mm, mm, mhm.
So they conquered those states, but they couldn't pacify them
Okay.
because they were Western and they believed in rights,
Right.
and
Right.
they
Couldn't crush it
couldn't
out of them.
Yeah.
yeah, well,
Well, who would
but
be successful in trying to civilize a bunch of Brazilians anyway, right? I mean, that would be pretty tough. Go ahead, Dmitry.
so the Russia to to hold those states, they had to create a police state in Russian Empire.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So
Right.
the Russia became a police state long before the Karl Marx was born.
Yes.
Ah, right. Yeah. Yeah. Mm.
By the way, you ever heard about the Russian commune,
Yeah.
община, русская община?
Can you go into that? Because I'm not aware.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that the thing, it was actually Chinese.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Chinese tax system, which
Oh, right.
Mongols brought to Moscovia.
Right.
What the heck? So
The people were taxed by the communities. So
Ah, yes.
if,
Okay.
if you lived in the communities, you didn't pay taxes. Community paid taxes.
Ah, yes. Okay.
But if you escape, if you run away, then community pays more. So it's incentivized you to drop a dime on your neighbor
Right.
if you're trying to run away.
Right. Right. Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. I
Hmm.
I can see why that would the Russian Empire adopted that.
Hmm.
And
Hmm. Okay. So do you have any other sort of I want to get your actually do you have any views in particular on perestroika and glasnost, Dmitry?
yes. Yes.
Well, I mean, Soviet Union, Russia could exist, I don't know, long, could have survived it, but
Hmm.
they got overboard with the real information. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
It's
Overboard with
collapsed basically because of the envy. We were told that everybody are equal,
Yes.
but we find out that some people are more equal than others.
Hmm.
That got, I mean, Soviet Union was really society of a different level. If if you're on the bottom, you were going to the stores, the regular stores, which didn't have much to buy. Yeah, it's dependent where you live at.
Yes. So
Right.
very
Uh,
unequal society, even though they was taught otherwise.
yeah, that all talking about equality and all that, but wasn't really.
So do you view perestroika and glasnost as being sort of reforms by Gorbachev? Did you did you view them as being sort of genuine, or it sounds like to me that you think that they were it was just sort of that the dam broke and
They didn't
Yes,
have a
it,
choice, right?
we
yeah.
were scared. I know it all started. They said it started with Ronald Reagan, but it's
Yes.
actually started earlier, before with the the war in Lebanon. Actually,
Hmm.
are you familiar with that?
Not maybe not in this
When
context.
when Israel invaded
Oh,
Lebanon,
yes. Yeah, yeah.
Sure, sure.
they they, they had the army, the Palestinian army in Lebanon,
Mm,
Yes.
and they had the anti-aircraft system, Russian anti-aircraft system, manned by the Russian soldiers, actually.
mm.
And the Israelis were forced to use drones in warfare, and they slaughtered them,
Okay.
basically. And that system was the second only to Moscow.
Right. Okay.
So they panicked. We're gonna die.
Yeah.
We
Okay.
got to do something.
Right.
Americans gonna crush us. And then Reagan comes with his evil empire.
Mm, mm.
Right. Yeah. Started putting pressure on the Russians again, the Russian Empire again.
Yeah, the first they tried to turn in the screws like Andropov did, but it didn't work any.
Okay. Okay.
So they
Yeah.
tried everything because they needed money to buy the Western technology.
Sure.
Yes.
Sure.
Okay. So you think it
And
was a fairly genuine attempt then at the by the leadership of the Russian Empire of the time to try and modernize the Soviet Union into a
Yeah, well, like I said, they needed money, so they tried to modernize to get that.
right.
mm, what do you think about the effect that those reforms, those supposed reforms, had on the West? Because in the West, it seems like there was a great feeling of elation
It's
or
like, oh, we'd won.
excitement.
The
We'd
Soviets are
won.
defeated now. We've defeated Russia. They're our best friend now because
Yeah,
of
well,
perestroika.
Yeah,
I mean, the first of all, Russia had a huge lobby in the West.
Yes.
After, before the revolution, I mean, I've seen a lot of caricature and articles in the Western newspapers, and nobody wrote anything about Great Russia.
okay.
Russia was the prison of nations, a horrible country.
Mm,
Everybody knew that. Nobody wrote anything about Great Russia because it was a shithole, basically.
right, right, right. Yeah.
But then, after the revolution, all those refugees from Russia, they come to the West, and they brought the imperial version of the history,
Mm,
great and glorious, you know.
mm-hmm.
So the West had like basically two sides of the same coin, the pro-communist and anti-communist Russia, but they both pro-Russia.
Right, right. Interesting. And okay. And you're saying that that sort of sentiment sort of entered into the West. Is that correct?
Yes,
Right.
a lot of in the West, a lot of people believe that Russia is something great, and glorious, and whatever.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Right.
and a lot of
Yeah.
people still believe that. They think that Russia is somehow going to be this great power that, opposes the corrupt West and sort of returns the West to its former glory.
Yeah,
I don't really know
well,
how that makes sense.
Yeah. Somehow unites the world, and then we, it's just I don't know. It's like
I mean, a
utopia.
lot of people. I mean, after the Peter, he basically he westernized the Russian look.
Yes.
You
Mm.
know what I mean? I mean, he made the Russians wear the Western clothes and shave and drink coffee, and even created the Senate in St. Petersburg. I
Mm,
mean, in Britain, senators were equal to the king. In
mhm.
St. Petersburg, senators were the same slaves, just different different looks.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
they are appointed by the Russian Tsar.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, and do you
Interesting.
feel like under Putin sort of they're doing the same thing? They're trying to make Russia look like some sort of ideal Western society when under, very close.
The Putin
Mm,
Yes.
is just the Russian Tsar. I mean,
Oh, yeah, of
doing
course. Yes.
what's popular in Russia.
mm,
Yes.
You know,
yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Should
So
we
I mean,
yeah.
Russia cannot change because
Mm,
it's in the name.
Yes,
It's
okay.
what?
Russia means it's the direction of the conquest.
Yes.
Sure.
As long as Russia exists, it's gonna try to take it.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
it's attacked Ukraine because Ukraine was a real Russia.
Mm, mm, mm.
For them, the independent Ukraine, it's abomination.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, and that's just something that is just completely doesn't exist in the minds of most people because most people just don't know history or they don't really explore it because I guess they're too busy or something. So,
Yes.
were you? So you mentioned you were a linguist, and so were
Yeah,
you
I was
given
deployed as a
sure
linguist.
as a linguist? Interesting,
Yeah,
interesting.
with the
So
regular army.
okay, amazing. So were you given any insights into Russian or Belarusian strategic deception? Because Russians and their I guess their states have a very fine-tuned and quite frankly a rich history of intelligence operations and spycraft and spying and these sorts of intelligence gathering techniques and propaganda. Were you given any insights into the sort of spy
You
work?
mean the information? No,
No.
I mean, I was just helping to train the Ukrainian soldiers.
Okay.
Oh, so you're like helping them translate and do things.
Yes, I
Oh,
mean
okay.
the Belarusian and Ukrainian very very close, like 84%.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Right. Right. Okay.
Yeah, because usually they employ people with yeah, linguist abilities to yeah, to sort of engage in
That's
intelligence.
the intelligence. It was above my pay grade.
Right, right, right. Okay. Oh, fair
Yeah.
enough, fair enough. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. And I
Interesting.
guess because we started talking about Ukraine now, should we talk like using your knowledge of Russian history, looking towards the future? Do you think that in this, currently, is the West and NATO taking Russia seriously? Are they taking the threat seriously?
Hmm.
Not really.
Not really.
Okay, yeah.
That's fair
I mean,
enough.
I'm inclined to agree. I was hoping to find some hopium, but that kind of just says it all,
Well,
doesn't it?
it's I'm going to say that I had the contract, 6 months contract when I deployed,
Yes.
and I could have stayed there, but I had the conflict with the officer who had Russian roots,
Right.
Hmm.
Okay.
and that's why they sent me home.
Oh, right.
Oh.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I got you.
They sent me home and they denied me an award. So
Oh, okay.
I'm sore
Wow.
on that.
Wow. That's terrible.
And what was that over? Sorry, that was over. You disagreed with a Russian commander about what
Well,
exactly?
he wasn't really my commander,
Okay.
he, but he was a captain. He was an officer, and he come to my birthday party,
Okay.
Okay.
and I give a speech, and that I said that's enough of saving Russia, time to euthanize it.
Oh. Okay. So that was a bit
And
extreme,
he
was it?
he become really upset.
Hmm.
When was this? When did this happen? Like what year?
It's in the end of the 23rd.
Oh, so this
Oh,
year.
okay.
This year.
Now it's 25.
Okay, okay. I thought you meant the 23rd of this month. I was like, wow, that was like a day ago. Okay.
That's okay.
Okay. So
Interesting.
while the war was between Russia and Ukraine was still going, and apparently you said something too mean about Russia,
I
and
mean, the people don't understand that the difference between Ukrainian and Russia is just difference between East and West.
right. Yes. Okay.
Uh, It's, I mean, they might speak similar languages,
Hmm.
and Ukraine is corrupt. All the post-Soviet countries are corrupt,
Hmm.
but it's a corrupt Western country.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Russia is a corrupt Eastern country.
So just a
Entirely different level of corruption.
yes.
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. All this corruption, huh? Stuff. So okay, so yeah, NATO's not really doing their job. In that case, from your perspective, Dimitri, as a veteran and a historian, what do you think are the biggest misunderstandings the West has about war in Ukraine?
I think it's about territory, land, the
Yeah.
ports. It's
Mm,
all about history. The Putin just he said it openly.
Yes.
Yeah, and then he says it openly what his demands are, like on
So
uh
has
s-
to Ukraine to cease to exist. That's
yeah,
it.
and people are going, oh no, he's saving Putin's actually. Oh, they come up with every excuse in the book, right? But it's like Putin's like, no, we want to claim Ukraine for ourselves. Ukraine will be ours, and we're gonna gear up to continue past Ukraine, and then, and they're saying like, "Oh, Putin just wants peace. He just wants peace, man." It's like, oh my goodness, you guys have just completely lost it. So, okay, so right, so that's one of the biggest misconceptions or misunderstandings is
Yeah,
about
I mean, they
territory.
compare the Israel war and Ukraine war. It's very, very similar,
Okay.
almost
In which ways?
identical.
Which can you?
It's both. It's not about the land or the statehood or anything.
Yes. Okay.
Well, it's existential for Ukraine and Israel.
Right. Okay.
If
That.
they
Sure,
lose, they cease to exist.
Right.
Period.
sure,
Right.
okay,
Okay. Okay.
interesting.
That's fair enough.
Is
And
there any? Go ahead. Yeah.
oh, okay. I was just going to add to something else. It's like, what do you think of the current, the Trump administration? What do you think of how they're dealing with Putin and Russia and the war at the moment?
I mean, he's my commander in chief, but I mean, he hires people who are absolutely clueless. So,
Could you elaborate on that? I mean, I think we know who we're talking about, but just for the audience
yeah,
to,
well,
Mm.
I better not say it because,
I mean, I'll say it, it's like JD Vance,
Yeah.
Rubio.
yeah, well, uh, J.D. Vance is not going to be a president.
No, I don't think he will either. I mean, he might try, but we'll see.
Yeah, well, if Republicans try to run J.D. Vance, they're on their own. I'm leaving.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough too. I mean, that guy just. I mean, not only is he terrible, but he just kind of sucks. To be honest, maybe I shouldn't say that with Dmitry on the stream, but well, that's what I think. Of course, I don't represent everything, and vice versa.
Yeah, of
So,
course. What I'm
yeah,
saying is
yeah,
my
of
own
course.
opinions.
Yeah. We've all got our own opinions here, so that's and the audience is welcome to make up their minds as well. This is a free speech platform, so or at least ours is. But so okay, were
I
there?
mean,
Uh huh.
I didn't say it. I'm a conservative Republican.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes. I think you mentioned you were Republican earlier. So,
Hmm.
Yeah,
uh,
but I'm not just a Republican. I'm a conservative Republican,
yes. Okay.
Hmm.
which is not the same thing.
It's like a
Uh huh.
libertarian Republican, or I don't know, the other types of
Well,
Republicans.
libertarians believe that society can exist. I mean, without the government.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's sort of true.
Unfortunately, it's not true, sir.
Yeah, I tend to agree.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we're not here to talk about well, I mean, maybe we can later. We're not really here to talk about libertarianism. So,
Yeah.
with NATO, what's some steps you think? Because you understand Russian history, you probably understand that the Russian threat at this point isn't to be taken lightly. I've seen some rhetoric going like, "Oh, Russia's already defeated. We can, stop worrying. They lost like 1,000 tanks, Ukraine, so they're not a threat anymore." What do you sort of say to that? Like when people say that Russian was beaten so badly in Ukraine that they cannot recover, the West is fine, and we can all relax again.
Well, I mean, Russia is going to lose.
Yes.
You
The
think so?
Russia never won a war when they were fighting alone without major Western support.
Hmm.
Never
Hmm.
in history.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually a
So
good point.
well, it's an interesting point. I want to just pry a bit more into Dimitri's thoughts here. So okay, regarding that, Dimitri, what and that so we can, I mean, we can sort of see that that Rus- Russian forces are being dealt a very heavy blow by Western-backed Ukrainian by the Ukrainians themselves, actually, and so that it's very tough on them right now. We can see it's not going their way, or it's certainly not the way they had hoped. Um, but have you seen, Dmitry, the reports of the Russian military buildup along the Suwaki Gap, and
Yes,
yeah,
And Finland and other
and
places.
in Finland, yeah, where the Helsinki Times is even reporting on it, and even you have China saying that they're a Arctic power, even though they're nowhere near
Yeah,
the
they're not
Arctic.
even on the Arctic.
Yeah, but you see, but certainly Russia is present there, and then you have recent reports even I see of a Russian buildup even in the area of the Andalusian Islands, whereas the West shares a border there with Russia, and comparatively, looking at the islands through satellite imagery, the West just doesn't seem to have any reinforcements there, and Hector's showing this satellite imagery up along Finland's border, and I've surveyed this imagery personally myself. You've got just thousands and thousands and thousands of trucks, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of attack
Fighter jets,
helicopters.
strategic
Yeah,
airplanes, strategic aircraft.
that's right. Bombers, transport, big transport planes, and fuel tankers, and the rest of it. Do you think this? And again, Russians are they're they're very good at the strategic deception. That they really kind of built upon this. I mean, nobody else
yes.
has this history. Do you think this is a little bit kind of hair raising and a bit weird? Because I mean, we see this happening. They're getting served a full course meal in Ukraine, to put it nicely. But around all around around America, around Europe, there's this big buildup of all these artillery and tanks and stuff and helicopters and things of the like, and especially around the Suwaki Gap. I mean, I just it seems to me, something else is going on here, and NATO really needs to act fast. From your
Well,
perspective, yeah,
for NATO,
yeah,
if NATO start a war with Russia, it's gonna end like in 24 hours or so.
Okay.
you think so? Okay, but
I mean, the Russian military is horribly corrupt. I've seen it
Yes.
firsthand. I mean, I was in the Northern Fleet. I talked to the submariners.
mm,
That's, I mean, I was in the in the stockade. You know what stockade is, right?
Yes, yes.
uh,
The brig, right? The prison.
Yes, I was in the stockade twice.
Wow.
oh no,
And the Navy. I mean, it's a regular punishment.
Oh, they just do it for no reason, do they? Or
No,
very
no,
little reason.
for the reason. I mean, in the U.S., where they'll give you you're gonna cut your rank, maybe.
Right.
mm, mm, mm.
In Russia, they're gonna put you in stockade.
Right.
So anyway, they told me that the brand new submarines, after like 3 weeks of deployment, I mean, yeah, 3 weeks of deployment, everything's supposed to be automated,
Oh, yes.
get broken, and have to do it manually.
Oh, okay.
The Russian technology sucks.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Well, I mean,
Right,
that's sort of been
right.
proven in Ukraine. I mean, the Western technology has fared very well
I
against.
predicted what's going to happen
Mm,
Yes.
in Ukraine because, I mean, what Ukraine proved that they're the nation,
mm,
Yes.
mm.
the
Sure,
real nation,
that's right.
because
Yeah.
the people compare Iraq and Afghanistan to Ukraine, just think that no Afghani nation or no Iraqi nation.
Yes.
But
Well,
there
Right.
is Ukrainian nation because they defeated Russia because they just started fighting. They didn't wait for Zelensky to give an order.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. 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 Ukrainians have it a bit harder because they have flatland, whereas oh, I guess that's the Afghans. But yeah, I was gonna say they have a different terrain, so
It
it's
have
very
nothing to do with the terrain.
yeah.
It
Oh
have
no, I'm just
It's
saying.
more
everything to do with the people.
yeah, they have a will to fight, unlike
Yes,
Iraqis and Afghans. That
Yeah, well, the Afghans have I confused them for a second. I don't know how you do that. They have the mountainous regions, whereas the Ukrainians have the flat. So it's I was gonna say it's pretty hardcore. It makes it even more hardcore that
yeah,
they're able to repel the Russian force. I was just making a comparison,
I
but
right.
mean the
a silly
Afghans,
comparison.
they're great fighters, but they have nothing to fight for because the corrupt Afghani regime, which American supported,
Yes,
they didn't like it any, and they knew that the second American leave, this regime gonna collapse.
yes,
Mm,
yeah. Well, the Afghan, the what do you call them? The
So
Afghan national
they
forces were
either
not
switch
motivated.
side or they just run home to defend their tribe
mm,
from incoming Taliban. That's it.
Right.
mm, mm.
And
Amazing.
Ukrainians, they saw incoming Russians. They said, well, let's mess them up.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you think that was? Do you think there was a point to that, to the Russians invading Afghanistan? Because I've heard that that was part of their strategic deception as well to help the West, as people have said with Perestroika and Glasnost. The
You
invasion
mean
of
the left or invaded?
the the Russians invaded Afghanistan.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Russians invaded Afghanistan because it, it was,
Like a puppet state, right?
to excuse my language, it was a clusterfuck.
Right.
Huge one.
So they thought they could take it over. At least that's
No.
official.
In Afghanistan, they made the communist revolution,
Mm, mm,
and
mm,
there was two fractions, the revolutionaries in Afghanistan, both pro-Russians, and one side was saying that the other side wasn't sufficiently communist.
mm,
Yes.
mhm. Yeah,
So
interesting.
they appealed to Russians to invade and save them.
Okay.
Because yeah, I was just mentioning that Trevor Loudon in his research documents that generals said that the communists invaded Afghanistan with the intent of actually, as he puts it, running away with their tail between their legs to so that the rest of the world that they viewed as their greater objective, namely America and Europe, would view them as not very militaristically well put
Competent? Yeah.
together, competent. Yeah, with the intent of doing that, which is what, if anybody finds that strange, there's a long history in communist Russian history of doing behaving in this way, as strange as this may sound. So I just
I
wonder,
mean,
even
they invaded Afghanistan because they
mm,
thought they gonna take it. That's it.
Yeah, okay.
sure, sure.
Nothing complicated about it.
Okay.
Okay, okay, fair enough. So, yeah, I just wonder, even though you've stated that Russian tech is not is not good, even with the sheer amounts of sort of firepower that is building up. You don't think that they could potentially overrun NATO with
Well,
their
if they win in Ukraine, theoretically they can. I don't
mm,
see how they can do it in practice. But
uh-huh,
again, if West abandon them, so the Russians actually can win
mm,
only
Yeah.
if West abandons Ukraine.
right,
Okay.
okay, sure, okay.
And
Uh,
in this case, then they're gonna rebuild. I mean, the Russians always doing like that. They buy in Western technology or steal in Western technology and then try to attack West.
Yes.
Sure, sure. Interesting.
On the topic of support for Ukraine, so you think it's inevitable that as long as the West continues to support Ukraine, that there's going to be a Ukrainian victory, correct?
I mean, Russians basically lost already. I mean, they lost 2 years ago when they tried to take over Ukraine, and I mean, Putin will start to drink his own Kool-Aid, basically, and the the thing is he bribed half of the Ukrainian oligarchs who promised him that Ukrainians are gonna surrender or to beat Russians with flowers.
Right.
Okay.
I
Interesting.
mean, they expected that the Russian force wasn't big enough to conquer Ukraine.
Yes, it had to retreat because it wasn't built up enough or
I
organized
mean,
enough.
they come in the expectation that Ukrainians just surrender.
Yes.
Yeah. So the potential of the Russians mobilizing, say, another million troops at the flip of a dime, perhaps that's
No
not.
way.
No way. Okay. All right. Okay. They couldn't do that.
If they conquer Ukraine,
Yeah.
then they would have all those Ukrainians to draft.
Yeah, you'd have
Right.
3 million more Ukrainians potentially to draw. Well, more than that actually, probably closer to like 10 million. But I mean, it's not just men; it's an issue of material, right? Because Russia does have a large population that it can continue to draft from. Whether it actually wants to do that, and whether that's a wise decision, is up to the leadership of Russia. But I think the more pressing issue here is material, right? Because Russia's taken extremely large material losses in Ukraine, much larger than the Ukrainian losses. So how do you see this war ending? Is it just going to end like a war of attrition when Russia finally does start running out of its actual, the very
I
bottom
mean,
of the tanks?
if Russia, if Ukrainians take war back to Russia,
Yes.
Russia gonna collapse.
Yes.
I mean, it's happened before, not once. I mean, the Europeans they believe the Russian propaganda about the great and glorious and powerful Russia. Russia is poor, corrupt, guilty.
Okay.
Interesting. Okay. So in that case, it seems like you have somewhat of an optimistic view for the future of Eastern Europe. What do you see as the future for Eastern Europe?
Like I said, if they wouldn't abandon Ukraine, then they have future. If they
Yes.
do abandon Ukraine, they wouldn't have a future.
Right. Okay. Sure.
It's up to them.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a real possibility that the Western nations would stop supporting Ukraine? Looked like for a while the Trump administration was going down that track, but now they've
I mean,
flipped the
who
script
knows?
again. Who knows?
The Russians, they try to put their own puppets, like they tried to do it in Romania.
Yes.
I mean, the best thing Russians can do is a propaganda thing. I mean, so many people believe in the Russian crabs.
Yes.
I mean, it's if you know the Russian history, if you've been in Russia, no way you're gonna believe it unless you are brainwashed.
Right.
Okay.
Interesting. So that's their best.
The psyop.
Is the psyop, the art of the psyop that they employ.
Yeah, Russia is a psyop.
Okay. And
Right.
what do you think of that? Do you see like because Russian narratives, especially, you're a part of the Republican Party, you see Republicans sprouting stuff like, oh, Putin's just protecting Russian speakers, it's a traditional Western society, they're all
Come
Christian
on.
and go to church. you know, they just love freedom, that sort of stuff. So
Yeah, well,
do you see those narratives like
I mean,
holding much?
the Russians infiltrated both parties,
Yes.
the Democrats and Republicans.
Mm,
I
yes.
can't say which one is more infiltrated.
Mm, mm. It used to be that the Democrats were the most heavily
Yeah, well,
infiltrated by far, but now, as we're seeing as of recent, yeah, it's quite clearly going that way as well. But I think that most of the Americans actually, even the Republican base, yeah, most of the majority of them support Ukraine,
yes.
and the majority of Americans in general support Ukraine, and I think it's like only 9% or something, which is pretty crazy in a way. View Russia as as a friend or something like that, and yeah, I think it's quite interesting to go into those statistics. But all in all, looking at the stats, it seems that propaganda has not quite worked the way they'd hope. But I think it's like 54% view them as an enemy or as a threat, and then I think it was like 30 something percent viewed them as a competitor, which then even then you're kind of
No,
yeah.
Russia is not a competitor
Yeah. Mm.
of the West.
Yeah,
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 of
yeah,
course. I
It's a
think.
exactly.
joke.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's very serious, yeah. So, yeah, I guess yeah, the right, right. So what I'm sorry, I forgot what I was going to say. I think I was going to say that yeah, do you have any kind of suspicions of do you think we'll be able to combat this propaganda, or what are your
Well,
Yeah,
thoughts
his
on
his
the Russian propaganda?
I just pulled this up of what
it
the
doesn't work. I
Yeah.
mean, as long as people gonna do the homework,
Mm,
I mean, anybody who's seen Russia
mm,
wouldn't believe that it's great and glorious. Because,
mm,
I mean, the Moscow is entirely different thing.
so yeah, this is
Well,
his
they love to show the documentaries of the Moscow city, the beautiful girls.
oh yes,
You
yeah,
know,
I've
yeah,
seen
there's
that.
seen the ones on Twitter.
it's all sunny and great,
Yeah.
and it's so good. Why can't we have it in
Yes.
the West? Well, you try to walk away from center of tourist center of the city to the suburbs. You probably wouldn't make it back, but well,
Yeah, yeah. Well, here's I'm just pulling up on screen. Here's the as of 2024, mid 2024. What are the public's views on Russia? And in the United States, Canada, United States 86% negative, Canada 80% negative. So most Western countries have an overwhelmingly negative view of Russia, but it just seems to be some factions on the right and the left seem to show like Russia as some sort of savior that's going to save their retrospective country. And it's just some people seem to fall for that psyop for some reason, but it seems like the general public generally does not believe that sort of rhetoric. So I guess that's good.
Mm,
yeah, well,
generally,
in
yeah.
before the wave of the immigration from Russia to the West, it was closer to 100%.
Right.
Mm,
Well,
yeah.
it should be 100% really, but unfortunately we're not
I
quite
mean,
there.
I started when I came to America. I started reading the, the articles which were published before the revolution,
Yes.
which
Mm.
weren't complementary to Russia at all. Uh-uh.
Basically none.
I mean, if you read what Jack London,
Yes.
Mhm.
I mean, Jack London was basically the poet of American industry, individualism,
Hmm.
and Russians they published all his books,
Mm-hmm.
so
Right.
they probably couldn't understand what he's talking about.
Right.
I
Right.
mean, when I read him, I didn't, because for me it was a pure abstraction.
Yes. Okay. So looking towards the future, what do you think is the most likely outcome for these three countries, Russia, Belarus, and Ukraine? Where do you think these countries will be 5 years from now in 2030? What do you
That
think is
depends, whatever Russia collapsed or not.
right? Right.
Right.
I mean that all those three countries, it's a part of the great Russia myth.
Yes.
Right. Right. Right.
It's before the revolution, the Russian people supposedly divided by three parts: small, white, and great Russia.
Yes.
mm, mm, right. Right.
And that
So
being Moscow, Belarus, and the Ukrainian, the modern day equivalent. Correct.
So the Russia, Rus, it was the religion.
Yes.
It wasn't the state.
Yes.
mm, mm. I'm interested, Dmitry. Does in Belarus it seems to be a good country for the Russians to conduct their asymmetrical warfare in terms of flooding Europe with mass immigration? Um, and Lukashenko seems to direct these immigration flows from Belarus toward Poland and toward the rest of Europe. Is there sort of like an understanding of what's going on there, where Putin and Lukashenko are coordinating these hybrid warfare techniques upon the rest of Western Europe? Are young Belarusians or are Belarusians in general are they aware of this?
Probably not all of them, but
Hmm. Hmm.
many. But
Hmm.
you see, the thing is, when they promoted the Lukashenko,
Hmm.
they promised him that he gonna be a Tsar
Oh,
after
okay.
Yeltsin.
Right. Yes. Yes. There was some people thought that.
But they, they didn't keep the promise. He was offended, and he wanted to be a Tsar. He don't want to be the vassal, you know.
Yes.
Hmm.
You want it to
Hmm.
be the big
Hmm.
dog.
I,
Yeah,
I I guess he didn't go to Putin's birthday party after that, or he left. Um, but okay, interesting. They they do have an understanding of that, and okay, so
I mean
Lukashenko.
that's why the Belarus still exists, because
Mm,
don't want to be the vassal.
Yes.
yeah,
He don't want to be the governor of the Russian province. He want to be a president.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I mean, there's all these like Lukashenko was saying like Pakistani migrants are like better or something, and that
Bizarre.
they they should marry them or something, and
It's so
which
bullshit. I mean, why
yeah,
would we go to Belarus? I mean, the
yeah,
travel so far for what?
mm,
The level of the life Belarus not that high,
mm,
you
mm,
know, even for the Pakistanis. So
mm, yeah. Very very strange sentiment. So yeah, the I'm sure yeah the Belarusians must be going like, what the heck,
it's
like
it's
we're
some
Belarus.
kind of psyop probably, but I
Yeah,
don't think it's gonna happen. It's
yeah.
not because the, the Lukashenko don't like or don't like Pakistanis, because they just we're not gonna go there.
Yeah, yeah,
To Europe, it's entirely different thing, but to Belarus,
yeah.
Is this some sort of? It just seems like bizarre behavior to me from the Belarusian president is to like set up some sort of like workforce or base that is more loyal to him than they are to potentially any ideas of Belarusian
Yeah, well,
nationalism or freedom.
your guess as good as mine.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like a bizarre behavior, and I assume it's would be extremely unpopular. And he's not a particularly
Hmm.
popular leader to begin with. So
Whatever.
Well, right now, he depends on Putin
yes,
a lot more because Putin is basically for finance
mm,
the last uprising in
Hmm.
Belarus. That's the so-called revolution was financed by Putin.
yes,
So the Lukashenko didn't want to be involved in a war with Ukraine,
Hmm.
and he still doesn't. Not because he likes Ukraine, because he knows if if he joined the war, he's done.
yes.
Basically.
Hmm. 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 Yeah. No, that's a really good point. Yeah. So I guess to sum up, unless you have something more to say, Hector,
Now we
or
can start wrapping up. Like, yeah, we've been going for
yeah,
2 hours.
I have two more questions to ask, and then I think I'm really satisfied with that. So with such global turmoil, Dmitry, the wisdom of experienced, knowledgeable men like yourself is invaluable. What would you say to young Belarusians or Eastern Europeans looking for purpose and direction in this current geopolitical climate?
Well, you can if you build up your own state, the Western state, you have a chance.
Okay.
Hmm, hmm. Right, right. So support the Western sort of states, I guess.
Yeah,
Okay,
the nationalism.
the nationalism.
That's a
Yeah,
great
Okay,
thing. I believe in nationalism.
amazing.
absolutely. Fair enough.
Absolutely wonderful, yeah, and we certainly want to see Belarusians or Belarusians have a state for themselves, not bloody Pakistanis or you know,
Whatever else,
Egyptians.
yeah,
Where
Lukashenko's
yeah,
trying to bring in or whatever.
yes. What the heck are you doing, man? It's like these are your people, and you're saying all this weird stuff. Yeah, it's
Well,
definitely
like I said,
BS.
it's not because he cares about people. It's just Pakistanis wouldn't want to go there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Oh, he doesn't care about them either. He just wants to stay in power, and he thinks he can meld
Yes,
them to be this class of people who keep him.
but the
Um,
Pakistanis will just if they go there, will like look around and say, no, I'm going home.
yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. So, okay, that's yeah. I think that's great advice. Just yeah, live a life of build up Belarusian nationalism. That's great advice. So, are you so you're a community activist, a Belarusian community activist. Are you working on any projects, maybe historical writing, community work, or public advocacy?
Well, I'm studying,
You're studying.
still studying history.
Okay.
I'm reading books when I can find something.
Mm, mm. And is that being translated into your community activism at all?
No, I mean, uh, there's no much, not much of activism. I mean, I'm taking part of the community events,
Yes.
Mm,
and
mm.
that's it. I
Okay.
mean, I'm trying to convert people in to my view.
Mm. And how's that going? Is that are people like sort of gravitating to the idea of Belarusian nationalism?
See, the problem is that that the the modern West does not support nationalism.
Yeah.
That's one of the main problems with the
The
West.
thing as the multiculturalism,
Mm,
it's
mm.
it's it's what's killing the West. They
Absolutely.
believe that all people are the same.
That's right.
If
Yeah.
if we just make them the vote, create
Yeah.
democracy, but to create democracy first you need people.
Yes.
Mm.
You need nation. Otherwise there is no democracy.
You need,
without nation.
yeah, you need people like nation, like means
Yes,
like the people, right? I mean, that's the root of any nation is the people. You can't have a nation that's root is just like economic growth or dollars or something like that. Like the
yeah.
people are the root of the nation, and a lot of the West, unfortunately, does not subscribe to that standard, and that's just sort of that unfortunately has just led
That's
this.
why the nation building in Afghanistan and Iraq collapsed because they had no idea what they want to build.
Yes,
How they can build the state if they don't know how it's gonna look like.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
exactly right.
yeah,
Exactly.
and yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah, and it's yeah. A lot of the liberalism has been kind of perverted in the West to these sort of Marxist ideals that have been promoted
Yeah,
by these
multiculturalism and
yeah, yeah
open
by
borders.
yeah
And
agents of the
that's what a lot of libertarians believe too, by the way.
yeah
Yeah, that's
not
why I
not
don't believe in libertarianism either. So
yeah, that's right. No, they were very big. It's basically a huge. I don't even know how you can discriminate them from sort of being like agents of Russian propaganda. But yeah, I
Well,
mean, also, I mean, it was from the
they believe Russian propaganda because it's playing to their core, the same way Russians are like us. So,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. That's right. Yeah, and that you've got the Democrats as well. So it's from this, and they were heavily infiltrated by such
so
propagandistic themes.
it's
So
libertarians, it's more Republican, and Democrats are more Marxist.
mm,
yes.
mm, mm,
Although I guess at this say you could say a lot of them are on a lot of Marxists on both sides.
yeah.
But anyways, I think we should start wrapping up. We've been going for over 2 hours, so I'd like to thank you, Dmitry, for coming onto our show, sharing your story, sharing your thoughts, sharing your views on your knowledge of Russian and Eastern European history. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you, Dmitry.
You're welcome.
And thank you, Gilbert, for co hosting again today. And thank you to the viewers, whether you're live or watching the replay. Thanks for joining us. Hope you learnt something. Hope you have a great weekend. And as always, stay blessed, not stressed. We'll see you guys. Actually, not next week. I'm on holiday. So we're going to be taking a little gap, but we'll be back probably next month sometime. So I hope everyone has a good couple of weeks. All right. Thank you for tuning in. And we'll be back again with you shortly. Have a great weekend.